أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. So we are starting a new surah, Surah At-Teen, which is a Meccan surah. So in the order that we follow, it's at the 28th surah in Revelation order. And in the Mus'haf order, it is at 95 to the end of the Quran. So by the name, the surah means the fig, which takes its name from the first verse. Let's quickly read the surah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونِ وَطُورِ سِينِينَ وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ. By the fig and the olive, by Mount Sinai, and by this city of security, or by this secure land. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Surely we created man of the best stature, or indeed we created human in the best of the forms. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Then we reduced him to the lowest of the low. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ فَلَهُمْ أَجْرٌ غَيْرُ مَمْنُونٍ. Except those who believe and do good works, and theirs is a reward unfailing. فَمَا يُكَذِّبُكَ بَعْدُ بِالدِّينِ. So from now on, who will give light to you about the deen? Who will deny the deen? Or tell you that you're telling a lie about the deen? أَلَيْسَ اللَّهُ بِأَحْكَمِ الْحَاكِمِينَ. Is not Allah the greatest of all sovereigns? So this is the surah. It's a short surah with 8 verses. So again, as it happens in many of Meccan surahs that we have been studying so far, starts with 3 words of oath. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونَ, by the fig and the olive, وَطُورِ سِينِينَ, and by Mount Sinai, وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, and by this city of security. So let me first put all my questions. They are related questions. This is why I would like to put all of them at once. وَالتِّينِ وَالزَّيْتُونَ, the fig and the olive. What is special about these 2 fruits? And why are they being used at the place of oath? And we have seen the general theme of the surah, so we have roughly an idea about what it is. How is these fig and olive is going to relate to human? Because the surah is about human. وَطُورِ سِينِينَ, Mount Sinai. What is special about Mount Sinai? What is its relevance to me as a human seeking guidance? Because as we mentioned before, these words of oath first should be something that I have an opinion about. Second, it's going to be relatable to what comes next, so much so that this is going to, like, my prior knowledge or prior conviction about these words of oath is going to be supporting what comes next. Okay. وَهَذَا الْبَلَدِ الْأَمِينَ, this city of security or this secure land. Which city is that? Why security is specifically mentioned as a property of this land, of this city? And what is its relevance to me? These are just a few questions that came to my mind as I was reading. And as a general question overall, what is the relevance of these words of oath? So these are going to be my questions in general. And keep in mind, these 3 verses of oath, the answer to these oath, Jawab Qasam, is لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. So indeed we created human in the best of the forms. So that statement is going to be supported by these 3 words of oath. This being said, and going back to the first question, why fig and olive? What's special about them? When I say fig and olive, what comes to your mind?
Fig and olive.
Just fig and olive comes to your mind? That's good. It's what it's supposed to be. But what's more than that? So what do they signify? The Quran mentions certain fruits, like one that comes to mind is pomegranate, for example. Rumman is being mentioned. And when I say rumman, for example, pomegranate, it's a special fruit, isn't it? Like when somebody mentions pomegranate, like if I were to just undo a pomegranate and ask Kadir to put it together, like not making it up or anything, you just put the pieces together, it's going to be one of the hardest puzzles that you can solve. Probably you won't be able to solve. So its design is really striking. So there's something special about that fruit. And even every single piece of that pomegranate, its structure is very weird as well. Like at the center is a seed, and the surrounding portion, the meat, is a jelly-like thing, and it's transparent. It's very interesting. But in here, it's not pomegranate, so it's a harder task, apparently. Fig and olive. Let's use Zareen, and I saw your hand was about to come out, but it didn't come out.
I guess I was looking at some of the posted, and one thing that was maybe mentioned about all three is that they have a relationship to a prophethood. So I was reading that the fig and the olive grow in like the land where Isa alayhi salam was sent. So maybe referring to his prophethood, and then for Mount Sinai, Musa alayhi salam, and then for the third, the city of security, that it's referring, can be taken to refer to Mecca, so the prophet. Maybe before answering the specifics of why these three, I think the relevance may be pointing to like prophethood. That could be best of mankind, because they convey the message.
Very nice. Yes. So for the record, if Sister Zareen's voice was not audible, so in tafsirs, they mentioned that 14 fig and olive, so they interpret this verse in the light of the second and the third verse. They say the second verse is talking about Mount Sinai, which is famous with where Musa alayhi salam received revelation. And traditionally, the third verse, Hadha al-Balad al-Amin, is interpreted as referring to as Mecca. So they say the second and the third verses, since they refer to places of revelation, then must be the first one as well. And then they say, what is it that Tin and Zaytun related to revelation? And then they say this refers to the Syria and Jerusalem, that region there. These two fruits are known to be produced quite a bit. And if we take it as such, then the emphasis in the first three verses simply becomes reminding us of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, and Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. Because Ibrahim alayhi salam was living in this Syria and Jerusalem, that region. Isa alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam came to actually the same location. So Mount Sinai and like Jerusalem, that region is famous with Mount Sinai, as well as Zaytun, like producing olive. And then as we take Balad al-Amin as Prophet city Mecca, then yes. And as such, the following verses will be taking prophets at the center. Then we will ask the question, what is so strange or important about prophets. Yes, Khalid.
So my only question is like why it's like being referred to by foods?
Yeah.
Why not any other thing or like creative that directly even mentioned like in the third verse it says by this city of security.
Yeah.
So is there like a significance for that or is it like
I mean, that's a good question to ask, because then why not naming هذا البلد الأمين, for example, as Mecca, but rather this secure city? And also, since Mount Sinai is named by name, and such a geographical location exists with this name, why not the other two? Is then becoming a relevant question. So, which then opens up the room for other interpretations as well. Like the classical tafsir focuses on taking them as places of revelation, which we will respect that and we will read it as such too. But in addition to this, as Qadir is rightfully asking, could there be something further than that? And so let's put the idea about prophets and message. Let's talk about it very briefly. What is special about prophets? I mean, why should this be taken as an oath that's going to support the idea that indeed we created human in the best of the forms? Yes.
one day like the special thing about prophets is they receive revelation and they are the best of us.
They are the best of us, and then they receive revelation. So, in a sense, like if I am having some questions about the statement, indeed we created man in the best of the forms, which will follow, what would support this as a evidence? The best among humanity. If I can show the people, look, these are the exemplary ones who are among humanity, supporting this claim that indeed human is created in the best of the forms, and more will come about this, except those who do iman and do good deeds and whatnot. So actually, for whatever follows, I can take this prophets as an exemplaries of iman and amalun salih. So those have been people who are supporting this idea. So if I read it as such, it makes sense. Now let's try to read it from the other way as well. What is special about the fruit itself, like fig and olive? And this is going to be related to خلقنا الإنسان, the creation of human. So what is special about the creation of fig and olive? And how is that related to creation of human? Let's try to focus on it from creation point of view. Next time when we eat fig, we should be more careful. Like rather than throwing it to the mouth immediately, like what does this fig tell me? We should pause, maybe open up the fig. Before opening up the fig, let's look at its shape. And there it is coming from. So fig is coming from this, I mean, pretty much everything else, but it's coming from dirt, which is soil. And even something more special, as we were discussing in Friday discussion, when you take the fig from the tree, a white substance comes from the tree, like as if the fig tree is drinking mud itself, but feeding its children with milk. Like this sort of interesting creation is happening in there, which I should say, well, why did you paint it like this, O creator? We should ask that question, right? Like when you go to art museum and see something like this, let's say there's this art, and the artist, if the artist was standing by next to you, what would you say? Well, what did you intend by making this wing-like picture? So there's a wing-like thing here, right? So I should ask the same question, well, creator, what did you try to say by creating fig in this different way than the rest? When you take the fruits milk comes out of it. So this contrast is something for me to question because it could have been anything, but it's made in this specific way. Then once I take the fig, open it up, I see 1,000 seeds. And actually every single seed are dot-like seeds, very small, tiny seeds. And if you compare it to the tree next to it, you said, wow, this tree was made out of this seed. As if, like, it's reminding me of putting the contrast. Such a small thing, and comes this tree out of that. And then what do I say? Well, seed makes the tree. I should pause and question, does it really? How come? What is required to make a tree? And I just find this seed. And even it is that, well, this many seeds are put in here, but the surface of the earth is not covered with fig trees either. Like, not all of these seeds are being successful. Some of those seeds are going to germinate into tree, but many of them won't. Most of them won't, right? These are the things that I should start questioning. And beyond all these, fig is such a fruit that's good as a fruit, as well as it's a good way of, like, it's like dates. It's also good for feeding yourself, like food, not only as a fruit, because fruit is more so like leisure. Like, you enjoy eating fruit, but generally you don't feed yourself. You don't feed with fruit. You eat fruit for your leisure time. But fig and date also, they are like meaty enough fruits that you can use it also for food. So there's a benefit of it. And then if I go back and ask the question, who is the cook? You go to the kitchen, and then in the kitchen, there's a tree. Like, you were expecting a perfect chef, like 5 Michelin star chef or whatever. And then you see a tree in the kitchen. So you say, well, it doesn't match. Like, I was looking for someone who is so thoughtful, careful about me because I benefit from this fruit as much. But I find to be in the kitchen, I found a dry wood. And with that wood, you can hit somebody, you can burn the wood, but you do not expect wood to cook you such a magnificent food. So the creation of fig tells me that somebody who is so knowledgeable, must be so knowledgeable, so careful, so artful, so loving and caring is doing this. And definitely the tree is not having any of those qualities. Let me pause here for a second and tell you a funny story. Maybe you're going through the same thing as well. When I was in undergrad, first year, it was a Fajr prayer. After the Fajr prayer, we used to have like short discussions. But then I remember a scene. One of the brothers were mentioning how a fruit comes out of a tree. And my friend, and we were friends with him since middle school, so I know him well, we grow up together. Says, well, I mean, it comes out of a tree. It's very easy. He said, like, it's gene and this and that. And the brother who was organizing the discussion said, oh, it cannot. And then it was about to like spark a fight because my friend is genuinely thinking that, of course, like, fruit comes out of tree. What do you mean? And the brother says, look, like, tree doesn't know you. Tree doesn't love you. How come tree is going to produce a fruit? The two totally separate worldview. Who is right? What do you think? Like, in this fight, I mean, they didn't literally fight, but somebody from upstairs come down and said that what's happening? Like, the conversation was so heated that somebody came from upstairs saying that, why are you fighting? So when, for example, I mentioned that whomever cooked this fig needs to be knowing you, loving you, and whatnot, does it simply sound like very poetic and unscientific? Yet, as my friend, and like, he was a smart guy, and in order to get to the university that he entered, you really need to memorize everything about science as much as a high school kid can learn. So he was really loaded with all these ideas of science in there. That's why he was putting his objection. What do you think? Let me hear your genuine, unfiltered responses to such an argument. Creation of fig and observing creator there. Kadir, you were trying to say something? No?
Like, for me, it's like this understanding, like, even the seed should know how it's going to grow. So, like, it should have the knowledge. As you've been reading, like, every single small thing that is being created should have the knowledge if it's going to create something on itself. For example, the seed, then it splits into two, then the leaves come out, and all of those things. It should know all of those things, but since it is not knowing, there is someone that is all knowing that is creating that.
So when we say it has to know, I mean, does this make sense or it doesn't need to know? Does it? What do we think?
I mean, there are like, it's splitting into two, like it has to know, it's like something is happening.
If something is happening, somebody has to know what's going on. Either it is the seed, let's say seed doesn't know it, then what? Summer, what do you think?
Both types of people, especially like when you like grow up in an education system, that's what we're taught. Like this fruit produced or this tree produced this, and like this produced this. But then it's like, how is that even happening in the first place?
Yeah.
Because there's a creator that's doing it.
Yeah. Or maybe there's not. Maybe they're right. Because the way that they speak, it sounds like it happens.
But it can't happen by itself.
That's the question, right? It cannot happen by itself. But this is what the language implies. It happens. How does it happen? Like, how does it split? Because there's an action, right? And then as long as the action, there must be a doer. But maybe it was just by chance. If the act was an act of chance, like if it was an arbitrary thing, then I could maybe accept the idea that, still I say I could, because still I won't. Maybe I could accept that. I mean, it's just a haphazard happening. But today, even when I put the seed there, it's going to split in a specific, purposeful way.
Right.
So much so that we are going to see this fig with those tiny seeds and everything, right? So this act in that specific way indicates that there is a purpose. Somebody, something, let's not even call it somebody, but something with this deliberate choice. Where does this come from? This is the question. So Quran's language is very simple. It's not, drowning us in jargon. It's giving us very simple examples of fig and olive and whatnot. And it's not talking about, oh, DNA and split and this and that. I don't know the terminology either. But it's just saying that, look here, like, I mean, forget about all this jargon. You see that there's this purpose and it's related to you. You see this relationship, somebody, as it fits you as well. Like this fig is not in the vacuum. You have an appetite for fig and you benefit from fig. Just imagine, even this cable here, just a super simple, stupid cable, right? Maker of this cable must know that it's going to enter into this USB-C port. Like he must know the size of USB-C port. And also know that somebody will need and use this. Otherwise, why would they produce such a product, right? And there's a certain design choice and everything. Even the data protocols about USB-C, it's not USB mini, it's not USB this or that, it's USB-C, a specific thing. Something as simple as that. It's not in the vacuum. Likewise, fig, you enjoy it. Like there's this relationship. It's not by chance. When it's USB-C, something as simple as USB-C, we don't say that they produced it and we happen to use it by chance. We don't say that, right? Fig is there. I eat it and I enjoy it. I say, well, they made it by chance. And it happened that I liked it. It ended up being like this. This being our perception. We wouldn't accept such an explanation when it comes to a super simple, the most simple basic electronics. But when it comes to our relationship with the rest of the existence, and now Quran is bringing something as simple as fig to our attention. Well, maybe not as simple. That says, look at that creation. What do you see there? Who cooked this? Can it be chance? Well, is it laws? What do you mean by laws? Like if I say, well, there is definitely a plan, there's a USB-C protocol written somewhere, and people are producing it according to this protocol, right? Where's this protocol written? When we say laws, what is a law? Law is just a rule written somewhere. Somebody needs to read that rule and act by it. The rule by itself doesn't do anything, right? The rule didn't produce this USB-C port. Things are done according to a rule. Actually, as people kept doing it in the same way, it was named as a rule. It's not that the rule produced it, but the pattern of action produced the rule. So when we say rules govern the universe, what do we mean by that rule?
But there's like physics rules.
Yeah, what do we mean by that? Physics rules, right? We observe an act that keeps repeating, and then we call it a name, a law. And then we say, oh, that law governs it. Yeah. Rather than saying that, well, I have been observing a consistent way of how things are being made or fall or whatever, and I name it as this law, then I turned ahead and said that, oh, my naming is the cause of it. I just created, if you like, this concept of a name. I gave the name to it. And now I declared this name as the doer. So when it comes to simple things in life, we are perfectly okay with accepting or understanding such a concept with my USB-C port here, right? When it comes to Fig and how it is relatable to me in terms of benefits, by itself, it is such a beautiful and careful design. Declaring, like by looking at it, you would say that, oh, this is very carefully made. Like this picture over there, like there's this Arabic writing, and the surroundings of it is very carefully embellished. Like it's called illuminators, like it's an art, and with tiny brushes, they paint it. If you look at such an art, like even if you don't understand from art, you just zoom in there, you would say that, wow, what sort of a brush did they use here? It's very careful. When you look at the Fig, you don't say that. Who is at fault? Yes, Suzeri.
And I've only recently begun to appreciate olives. So I was thinking like.
You have never eaten a fig? Wow, okay.
And I just had to look it up to remind myself what it even looks like.
Okay.
So I guess I can appreciate that it's like beautifully designed and has like a unique creation. But I guess so does a lot of other fruits and vegetables. So I guess like, is that the only way to kind of take like the mention of the fig and olive here? I guess kind of relating back to what Kadir was asking about, it could be like anything.
Yeah.
It's like
So if we then read it as this fruit, then we can open up the window further, saying that yes, Quran is giving the specific examples. They're accessible to a large audience, maybe not to you, but in this case, let's say you're coming from an environment in which mango is there, or banana is there. When I entered, you were eating banana. So banana is there, and you can ask the same question, who cooked this banana? Banana also has seeds in there, for example. It has a totally different shape, a very nicely cooked meat in there. So smell is there, coloring is very nice. The cover versus the inside, totally different natures, like it's covering and what's stored inside are of different structure, yet very nicely preserved. So who cooks this? There was in my childhood, there was a advertisement of the tea, Lipton tea. So they bring tea and the person asks, oh, is there somebody in the kitchen? Like this was what's the motto that they had? Is there someone in the kitchen? Like, this tea is so good. So we should ask the question when the food comes, if it smells nice and whatnot, is there someone in the kitchen? Now the fruit comes. Who is at the kitchen? This should be our question, because that's cooked for me. And that's something to also ask for. Is fig cooked for you?
Yes.
Do you take it personally? Very good. This should be the case. It's not fig is cooked for someone and I was just passing by and happened to be here, so let me steal it and eat it. This is generally how a materialist worldview takes it. Like, look at the colonialist worldview, for example. Go and conquer a land, because if I can overpower them, then it's mine. It's not put there for me. It could have been anybody's, but I am stronger and I will get it. If I live life as such, I would say that, well, power has might. So if you get stronger, then you can defeat anyone, and then it will be yours. Otherwise, it's no one's. You claim it, then it becomes yours. But if you see it the other way around, no, it has an owner, and the owner made it for you. And even you can say the same thing for today's sun has risen for you. And also for you. Like, you have a share in sun rising, as Qadir also has a share in sun rising. The one who created sunrise and make both of you a witness to this must have intended sunrise for both of you individually. Because for us humans, we give a banquet, and we just invite 100 people. And we make 5 types of food. Well, if you're vegetarian, eat this. If you are like Pakistani, eat the biryani. If you are, from Syria, that region, kebab is for you. Like 5 types of food. We don't go individually write people's names on it, right? But the one who creates me right now is already pumping my heart separate than your heart and your heart. Like, that treatment is already there individually. So every fig that you tend to eat, you should eat it as this is specifically made for me. And when I eat it, my tongue testifies to that.
What if you're allergic to the food?
Then eat a fruit that you're not allergic to. Because you will find something that is cooked for you, and for something that is made allergic to you, still there's a message for you in there. Like, you can then say that, oh, he made this for me and he has this message to me here, that I love you message. And then he says this allergic thing to you, giving another message to you saying that, you see, this was good, this is bad. I am the chooser. It's not by the nature of things that they are good. If I make it nice, it is nice for you. I could have made it in a way that it's not going to be nice for you. So many messages are going to exist. I mean, you can think of it like in the house, as you're trying to educate your child. Like, you will put certain locks somewhere. Like, for example, my son picks up knife. So we put a lock to this drawer because we would like to teach him that do not touch region. And there are certain regions that are you can touch region. So it's a school. It's a learning environment. And as we were also mentioning this on Friday, Prophet ﷺ says a person's name is written on the sustenance. Actually, no, this is a verse. The narration is different. I couldn't remember the exact words. But then the narration is like this. A man comes and asks, showing a piece of food, and says, is this my sustenance? Like, trying to not trick the messenger. If he says, yes, it's your sustenance, then he's not going to eat it. If he says, no, it's not your sustenance, then the guy will eat it. And then we'll trick the messenger. Prophet ﷺ, the response is important there, not just as a way of counter argument. He says, if you eat, it is your sustenance. Which should mean I mean, this could be read in the lines of explanation of qadar and whatnot. I don't read it as such, but rather I read it as a guidance saying that whatever you eat, it is specifically made for your creator. It's handwritten. Your name is handwritten on it, meaning that you should take it as a personal gift by your creator. It's not a like mass production and everybody gets whatever, like a general intended good, but you just by chance happen to be there. No. So teen has this specifics. Zaytun, which now in contrast to teen has one seed in it. But this is like in terms of the benefits of zaytun, it's a food. This time it's like salty. The first one was sweet, this one is salty. But you use it for food. And also, once you squeeze it, you produce olive oil from it, which has been used for light, which is being used for, again, food. So many benefits in that creation for human being. So focus on that creation. What teen was zaytun, how this is specifically being created for you. And again, this is going to be tied to creation of human. We can ask the question also, how human is different than these creations? I mean, you could have been something like a fig, you could have been something like olive, but you're not. This is another interesting point. Because when the next point comes and says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, indeed we created human in the best of the forms, I'll go back and ask the question, is fig not created in the best of the forms? It is a like peerless creation. A fig is very beautiful and olive is very beautiful for what it's supposed to be. So how does human differ from them? Should then become a question mark for me. Because before establishing the point that human is created in the best of the form, creator gave me an example of fig and olive, saying that, look at these, aren't they beautiful? Aren't they perfect? Right? And inshallah, when I get there, I'm going to ask this question, how does human differ? So be ready for that question. But Tur Sinin, so we talked about the prophetic aspect of it, but another aspect of Tur Sinin, they were mentioning that like Tur is taken as mount, but Sinin, they say it's a mount with trees. If we go with the translation of the word, rather than a proper name for a place, for a location, like Mount Sinai, but they say, like I was looking at classical tafsir, which was giving a reference to previous tafsir, and it's saying that Tur Sinin, like the word itself, is referring to a mountain full of trees. So this one is bringing two things to our attention. The first one is a tree, like multiple trees, and then a mountain, creation of a mountain. Quran uses mountains as examples too. It says, don't you look at mountains which are like he put mountains as pegs. Like last Friday, we were talking about mountains, right? Yeah. And mountains are simply, you say, well, it's just a bunch of rock in there. Like what's special about a mountain? But if we pay attention, what is special about mountains? The water that we drink is being stored in those mountains. And actually, it's being filtered and stored in those mountains. Like city of Philadelphia, with its not so perfect water system, and since Atik is not here, we can bully the water department of the city. So, but when we see that Philadelphia has 4 or 5 water reservoirs and like filtering, facilities, we do see that somebody who thinks about people's needs, establish those pipe system and the pumps and everywhere, and maintaining the structure. When it comes to mountains, what do we call it? It's natural. And we happen to be benefiting from it. This is our perception. We don't take it as somebody constantly maintains the system. When it comes to city of Philadelphia, it would say, no, of course somebody did it. Why? Why is this double standard? Because this year it will rain again. This year water will be filtered again. This year water will be preserved again. And next year, again, those water will come from the rivers. And again, I'm going to benefit from it. It didn't happen yet. And there's nothing that forces it to happen like that. What forces it to happen like this? Laws. Again, you see the same place we ended up being. Due to laws. Which law? Like law is, you act by a law. Law is just knowledge. Law is not something that acts. Someone acts by a law. Actually, someone's consistent pattern of action is law, is named as a law. So again, looking at the outcome of those mountains, and since Quran is mentioning them as pegs, like how the mountains going out is, anchoring the pieces of land and eliminating earthquakes, like many benefits for the living beings on earth, the way that they are designed, as if like the masts of a ship, like ships has those masts, like those pillars for establishing their balance. The mountains establish the balance for this globe of earth. This is why they're made as pegs. And we still say that, well, it just happens. By attracting our attention to, again, now I am reading it in the second version. We talked about the prophet version, the first. The second version, a tree with a mountain with trees. Now I am being reminded of this is a specific creation, a specific design. Don't you see that? And as I ponder upon it and its relation to me, I said that yes, somebody is taking care of that. Somebody must be taking care of it. It cannot happen by itself. وهذا البلد الأمين. Now let's come to the third one. As we said before, traditionally this is interpreted as this secure land is taken as Mecca. And we discussed this version of this meaning of it. But what is this city for me here and now? This secure city. Philadelphia is not a secure city that much. Like if we think about city life. What shall I understand from there? And why is there, which city is it that is secure? And there's this emphasis of security in there. Why? Like it didn't say this prosperous city, it didn't say this nice city and whatnot, but it said this secure city. And by the way, Mecca was not a secure city for Prophet ﷺ up until a certain time. Like they were being persecuted there. Eventually, actually, to the last 3 years of his prophethood, then Mecca became a secure place if we are really talking about material security. Still, the interpreters say that if we take it as such, this verse becomes one of the verses that talks about future relative to that time, saying that this city that you live in right now, it's not secure, is eventually going to become secure. It's a good meaning. But the speaker in Quran is not bound with space and time. So the speaker in Quran is not a human being who lived 14 centuries ago. So Prophet ﷺ and his, the people lived in the same age. If we apply to Mecca, it makes sense. But this is not the only meaning, should not be the only meaning. For people in this day and age, the city that you live in, or which city are we talking about here? Or land. In some translations, this balad here is taken as land, the secure land. In some others, it's like secure city. What do you think? We didn't study al-balad, did we? The surah balad? I don't think we did. We did it at Drexel, but not here. Yes.
For me, I often moved around a lot, so for me, it's like sometimes, it's not the physical place that might be like the sense of security. So like a city might not necessarily have to be like a physical like city. Sometimes like I could take it as like a place where my family is, for example, a place where I feel comfortable, or just like me on my own, like my body could be considered a city that I'm secure in. Because it is also being maintained. There's like a higher like authority, like cities have like a mayor or something. I have like a brain, I guess you can take it in that sense. That's like sending orders and things to the rest of my body, and like everything is maintained in that sense. And I feel secure that like everything is working properly in my body, and it's being maintained on a regular basis. Like I wake up and I'm not in like sudden fear that something's gonna like usually that like something's gonna like go wrong, unless it does. And I guess that's a separate kind of topic, but I guess I've been thinking of it, and I think we might have talked about it before, is like
Because in a city, what happens? Like city is a place where people with different roles interact with each other. Like there's bakery, but there's butcher, there's supermarket, there's tailor, like all different things live in harmony. This is what a city looks like, especially a secure city. Like if there's a city where there is nobody that makes bread, then you're in trouble. Like you are not food secure. Like, or if there's a city where there's no water, like everything else is there, but water is not there, you are like lacking water, which is the fundamental source that you need. So city is indicating this sense of harmonious life. And you can talk about this harmonious life. You can take the city to be the space, the whole existence, because everything is living in harmony. Or you can take it as the globe. And in here, we call it a water cycle, this cycle, that cycle, but like as if, again, we pretend as if it happens by itself. But things are in harmony in this existence, and we are securely living in it. Or even as Sister Zareen mentioned, in this body, there are so many different things working in harmony. And I'm dwelling in this city securely. Like your kidney is working, your liver, lungs, brain, heart. This is just the physical body. And you have all those different emotions as well. You have desires, you have fears. I don't know, you have knowledge on one hand. Many things, again, living in harmony, and you are dwelling in this city in security. Look at all these creations that are put in place. And again, if we apply our analogy of school, like this existence being like a school, as if I am brought to a campus and I have questions about whether shall I enroll to this university or not. What do? They have this tour, like before, April, May, when the applications are happening. Parents with the future students come and they have university campus tour. So what do they show? Oh, here is the sports center. Here is our computer labs. Here is our biology lab. Here is this, here's that. Everything is designed so well for the studenthood, student life is ideal in here. This is the message that they want to give to students, right? Now, this is what's happening here. It started by saying, look at the creation of fig and olive. Look at this mountain with trees, the way it's created, it's being designed. And look at the city that you live in, how it's being perfectly made for. Now, all these are going to support that claim. لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Now, the person who gives you the campus tour says, indeed, we have made this university student life experience at the best form. Now the creator is saying that indeed we created human in the best of the form. Based on these three should support that claim. There's a comment. Zara says, in it are clear signs and the standing place of Abraham. Whoever enters it should be safe. So this is one of the verses that refers to Mecca as the safe place, as Zarin was mentioning at the beginning. So like when we study Surah Al-Balad, same thing will come up in there. So like Balad al-Amin refers to Mecca, is one of the meanings that are being mentioned in there, and we talked about that. Now we are talking about the secondary meaning for what does this mean? What else could it mean for us? So, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Surely we created human in the best of the forms. أحسن تقويم. Now that we established those intro, a few questions. How does human differ from other creation or other beings? From plants, how does human differ? From animals, how does human differ? Because if the claim is that human is created in the best of the forms, is it really? Like people want to get drunk and shut off some of human qualities because it's becoming unbearable. Like they would like to become maybe like animals. Because being human is sometimes unbearable. Even you see people who are successful, but if you talk to them, I don't know if you have experienced things like that. Like I was seeing a person who was like, per their social media account, I thought, well, that person is just thriving. But then I received a call and I realized that actually that person is in deep trouble in their not even satisfied with achievements and also having some family issues or this and that. And I was saying that, well, I'm not doing well. So being human is sometimes troublesome, actually could be quite troublesome. But then how about the claim here? It's saying that indeed we created human in the best of the form. So what is best about human, or what is best form for human? In what sense? Because in the previous part, we talked about the fig and the olive, and human is different than fig and olive or any sort of those fruits. Human is different than a mountain, yet mountains are very nice and they do their job perfectly. Balad al-Amin, the whole universe is being created like a secure city in harmony. Everything is in place. Yet we are focusing on human and saying that human is created in the best of the form. In what sense human is best? Especially considering that human is having all these desires for more, yet not achieving almost any of it. Like even if you, I mean, since people here are in academia and whatnot, if you publish in this journal, you say, what, not in that journal. If you publish in the top journal, you say, why didn't I get the Nobel laureate? Never has an end. Whatever you achieve, up until you get it, you feel like, oh, once I get there, I'm going to feel like in bliss. You get there and you realize that, oh, it doesn't worth it, man. I mean, what's next? So you're looking, so what does this mean? Human is so miserable. Like all those desires, we thought we would be feeling happy. Like you feel like, especially now the undergrads, freshmen are coming to the campus, like look at their eyes. Oh, they get into pen. Like such a joy for them. They achieved it, they did it, right? And they feel like, oh, once I finish here, I'm going to get a 500K job, and I'm going to buy this and that and whatnot. Go and talk to a fourth year. Go and talk to an alumni. Right? So did you graduate from Penn? How long has it been since you graduated? 2 years? And 2 years ago, you were undergrad or graduate?
Yes.
Graduate. So how old are you now?
33.
33 with all these white hair. So you ask him, did you achieve your imagined, like first day you step on, even not the first day, you get acceptance letter from Penn for graduate school. Such an ego boost there, right? I mean, I assume, roughly speaking, for general people, maybe not for you. Like you feel like, oh, I did it. And you feel, then you get into here and then you see the challenges and this and that. Even if you get successful, what happens? You feel like, well, not how I expected 8 years ago, 6 years ago, or whatever. It's not what I was expecting. And then either you say, well, it sucks, man, like being a human sucks altogether, or you say, no, let's update the goal. Maybe I was setting the goal wrong, so actually I should become CEO of something and whatnot. Just, what's it, carrot before the stick. Just push it further so that I'm going to have fuel enough to run. Being a human sucks. How come that it is in the best of the form? There's a hand. Yes, Sister Nuran, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. In regards of what is best about humans, in another surah, Sajda, Allah says, أحسن كل شيء خلقه. He created everything on earth in the best form. And he started creation of man from dust. وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. And he continued giving new generations of human being. ثم سواه ونفخ فيه من روحه. And then he put of his spirit in that human being. So I think what is best in human being is as long as he follows the guidance of Allah. And like also in the surah that says, عرضنا الأمانة, and we offered the choice. Like this is the most different thing about a human being from any other creature, is that he has a choice to obey or not to obey. So this choice was offered to everything on earth, but everything refused, like this is too heavy for us to carry. But then human beings, they accepted the choice. So in terms of what is being best about human is when he carries the guidance and when he carries this amana. And in many areas of Quran, you can find that Allah wants us to understand that we are not different from all the creatures on earth, in terms of we are weak and vulnerable, and like figs and like olives, we are going to fail, like we are going to be nothing. But what makes us different is that we have this guidance and we had the choice and we made choices, and then we will be asked on the day of judgment.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. So this is what differs human from the rest. Like human, if you look at let's say a bee. Quran gives an example of a bee. A money-making machine, honey-making machine, not money. A honey-making machine, and it functions perfectly for a honey-making machine. And it doesn't learn how to make honey. It's born with this skill. So it's not supposed to learn. Like donkeys, maybe a few hours after they're born, they start walking. They don't learn how to walk. For a human, it takes at least a year to learn how to walk. Animals are not supposed to learn anything. They are created in the best of the form for whatever they are supposed to do. Human, it sucks when it comes to walking. It sucks when it comes to making honey. But we are not perfect when it comes to making any of these, right? But human is learning. Human is meant to learn. That's why human is made, or how human is made. If you just look at it, how human differs from the rest, human is a creation made to learn and appreciate. This is where human differs from the rest. So human is perfectly made for that purpose. By looking at the creation, human is made able so that it can learn what a fig indicates, what olive indicates. Like, it's not like human goes and eats, as we say, fig like animal. Like humanity is, on top of eating fig and benefiting from the food aspect of it, which animal also does, but you can appreciate the artwork in the fig. And you can get into a conversation with the artist in the fig. To speak it in more open terms, human is made able to read the fig in the name of human's Lord, himself's Lord, its maker. Ask the question, who is in the kitchen for the fig? This is reading it in the name of, like Iqra bi-ismi rabbik, read it in the name of your Lord. Human is different in this sense. Human is made in the best of the form when it comes to reading it in the name of its maker. And as we will tie this, because still we are at the middle of the surah, and then we reduced him to the lowest of the low, inshallah, which we will discuss next week. The following verses, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, will help us understand again how human is created in the best form. Because human is reduced to the lowest of the law, except, like, what makes human is Iman and Amalun Salih. Otherwise, human is at the lowest of the law. Without Iman and Amalun Salih, human is lower than the animal. Which it is, right? Because, like, birds enjoy their life, human cannot. Animals, donkeys, monkeys, they enjoy their life despite lack of intellect, lack of any complication, any nice tools like intellect that human has, but they enjoy their life, but we cannot. Like after 2 years of graduate school, like 2 years after graduate school, you start having those white hair, which indicates that I am in trouble in life. I mean, probably. I also have white hair. So we are having a hard time in life. If only I was, I mean, sometimes people say this, right? If only I was just a shepherd on top of a mountain. We feel like they will have less of a trouble. I mean, this just a general saying. I'm not saying that shepherds are having an easy life, but from the point of view of a person who has many apparent achievements, they say, well, if only I was in my town and just growing onion, rather than putting myself inside. We say the same with, like, what is that comparison for? We say that sometimes, oh, I would like to be like an ape. Like, this is generally the symbol they use for alcohol, right? Drink it and you'll become like an ape. Why? Because I have so many troubles in life. I would like to shut it off, right? Human goes to the lowest of the law. Where does the difference start? إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, which means these two makes human. And human is made perfect to function perfectly with these two. Like, it is like you make a perfect plane, and you say that we made this plane in the best of the form, and then you put, what is it, diesel, and then you ruin the plane. Like, it's not even moving. You should put whatever the jet fuel in there, right? It's made in the best of the form to fly. But then you put diesel because it's cheaper, and then it's not even moving. Like the car, the simple car, or the motorcycle is not faster than the plane. This plane became a junk if you put this diesel fuel in this. So you made it to the lowest of the law, useless. And even if you park in the airport, you will have to pay a lot of money just so that they're not going to, I don't know, burn it or whatever. Just airplane staying in, in the airport costs you, right? This is how it is. Human gets to the lowest of the law. So, inshallah, next week we will discuss what makes a distinction is these two, Iman and Amalun Salih. So we will then need to reevaluate what does it mean that human is made in the best of the form when humans special aspect is mentioned as iman and amalun salih. So inshallah, let's pause here. Yes.
What does that mean?
Iman is belief. Amalun salih is translated as good deeds. But we will have to ask, what is good deeds? Like making charity, opening up wells in Africa, or I mean, what? Because you can do these things for many different reasons. What makes it good? Like, is an act good by itself? Like giving candy to a child, is this a good act or a bad act? Right? By itself, the act doesn't become good or bad. So there has to be a context in which it's going to be a good act or a bad act. So this is what Iman is going to define. So inshallah, we'll get there. There are two comments. Okay. Nuran Hazem is saying that, let me see. Surah Al-Ma'arij, I guess. Okay. إن الإنسان خلق هلوعا إذا مسه الشر جزوعا وإذا مسه الخير منوعا. So the human being was created anxious, touched by adversity, he is fretful. So when touched by adversity, he is fretful. When touched by good, he is ungenerous. وإذا مسه الخير منوعا إلا المصلين, except for the one that do prayer. الذين هم على صلاتهم دائمون, those who are constant in their prayers. والذين في أموالهم حق معلوم, and those in whose wealth is a rightful share. جزاك الله خيرا. Yes, so these are all similar meaning, Sister Nuran says. So inshallah, next week we will pick it up from here. What does it mean that human is created in the best of the form? And now we will need to combine it with the verses came before and the verses that came after. So came before was the words of oath. Comes after is we will now tie it to Iman and Amalun Salih. And it's going to help in both ways. We will understand what Iman is and why it is important and how is it important, so much so that it makes human the best. And lack of it makes human worse than anything, worse than the fig, worse than the donkey or anything of that sort. Okay? Okay. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.